Now, I'll get to my list shortly, but some people might be wondering, why are these expensive picture books necessary for my photography? Well, let me just tell you, as you turn through the pages, there is a different response that you get from looking at these images in person. The texture, the smell, the feel of it, it really gives you a different response. And as you go through these books, whether it's this year, next year, or a couple of decades from now, as you scan these pictures, you might get a different message from them, a different sense of inspiration. And that's what makes it so valuable, is that unlike a narrative story or a nonfiction book, a photo book from a remarkable photographer, it's going to tell you something different almost every single time. Almost every single time. Anyways, I'm not going to overprescribe photo books. Let's just get on with this list. There's so much density to Gordon's work, and there's books like The New Tide and The Atmosphere of Crime that some people might gravitate to. For me, the book that I enjoy most is simply called Gordon Parks' Muhammad Ali. He was assigned to cover Muhammad Ali on 2 separate occasions, and that work went on to be covered in Life magazine, but later got put together in this book. As you flip through the pages, you see this amazing story unwind in front of you. And as a photographer, there's so much to learn about capturing images, and a variety of images when you have a singular subject. You look at the ways that light and shadow are being used. You look at the examples where sometimes the subject is not even in focus. You look at the examples of how motion is used in the photography. There is so much that you can study here, that you can take inspiration from. And I think if you are a portrait photographer, or if you're capturing humans for a living, this is a book that belongs in your collection. The next book on my list is rather easy to find. It's called Street Photographer by Vivian Maier. Vivian, she lived a pretty secretive life, and in the 50s and 60s, she spent a good amount of time capturing thousands of images across Chicago and really sharing the lower and middle class story. And it's unfortunate that most of her work wasn't discovered till much later in life, but now, going back, you really got to see how much of a master she was at sharing a story. There's images here that are very striking. There's humor to these images as well, but she does a fantastic job of juxtaposing life during this era. More than anything, this book serves as a time capsule and hopefully as a reminder. While social media might push us to capture images and share them right away, there is a bit of magic to capturing the world around you and sharing it much later, and hoping that it tells a different kind of story, something that might give you more insight into the times. So while my first recommendation might be a little bit niche, this is something that I think a wide array of people will enjoy. The next book on my list, it might not appeal to everyone, but it is Lost and Found by David LaChapelle. He is this commercial editorial fashion photographer, and in this book you will see some of the most audacious, extravagant, fantastical images you have ever seen. There is so much work and density to these photographs that you can't help but feel something. Now, you might not love everything. It really depends on what kind of photography you enjoy, but you will feel something. And I think that's what makes this book enjoyable to me and something that I like to recommend to others. Just seeing their response going through the pages, well, for me, it's a sight to behold. There's a lot of pages here that I can't show on YouTube right now, but I will promise you, as you go through these pages, you see how powerful it is when a photographer really carves out their style. That when you look at something, you think about them and you associate that work to them. So with that regard, and especially if you're into more fashion editorial work, you have to look at this book. It's called Lost and Found. It is a beefy monster of a book, but something worthy of your collection. The next book on my list is India: Reflections in Black and White by Raghu Rai, and this one's a tough one to find. Rai was a magnum photographer, and he documented India in a way that I don't think anyone ever has or ever will. This book here, it is a widescreen look at India in the 70s, 80s, and it really shares an intimate look at different cultures and what the experience was like. And I'll tell you right now, there's some pictures in here that you might not believe. The fact that someone was able to capture these intimate stories and to share these striking images on film, no less, Well, I'll tell you, it's just inspiring. If you're someone that enjoys street photography or travel photography, this is a book that you might go back to over and over again for a little bit of that creative juice, something to get you excited before you hop on a plane. Again, it's a tough book to find, but if you are a collector and if you want something that you feel like you've never seen before, a book like this will do the trick. The last book on my list is the toughest one that you will try to find because it is out of publication at the time of recording. It is called Friction, Tokyo Street by Tatsuo Suzuki. This book, again, you will not find anything like it. Suzuki captures Tokyo, modern Tokyo, in a very tight and intimate manner, and there are some of these images that bring you so close to the subject that when you look up Tokyo or Japanese photography, you won't find anything like it. Somehow, the photographer here, through sheer determination and lack of fear, really closes the gap between your eyes and the subject. And it gives you a sense of uneasiness in some of these pictures because of how close he gets. He weaves together this story that you feel like you're a part of. It almost feels like a work of fiction. As you flip through the pages, you'll see these high contrast images and really dark blacks that it's done in a way where you feel like it sets the bar, especially with respect to street photography. It's something that I find inspiring. It's also something that I can see might be off-putting to some photographers, but it is something that sets the bar. It is something that when you look at, you will see that there really isn't much work like this. Look, I can talk about this one for hours, but quite simply, you will feel something. So if you find a way to get your hands on it, pick it up as soon as you can. It is, again, Friction, Tokyo Street by Tatsuo Suzuki, a must-have in my eyes. So there you have it. That is my list of the 5 books that belong in your collection, that are a source of inspiration. And depending on which year you ask me, this list might iterate over time. But I'd like to hear what are some photo books that you believe should be on my list. So let me know in the comments below. As always, my name is Gadgen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.